Welcome to the World Unity Week and our room, Journeys into New Earth Frequencies and Sacred Geometry. Antonia Abano and I are delighted that Dr. Jaap Van Etten made a special recorded presentation for us using the theme of this event, New Earth Rising. Jaap is a good friend of mine, and let's begin by getting to know him, this charming and unique scientist and mystic. Yaap is a mystic, healer, ecologist, author of 5 books, and an international speaker and workshop facilitator. He founded the Center for Metaphysical Ecology and was born and educated in the Netherlands, where he received his Ph.D. in biology, specializing in ecology and population genetics, and began a career in science. In 1990, he shifted his attention to spirituality, energy healing, and the study of earth and crystalline energies and subtle worlds. He studied these subjects for 30 years. For 20 of those years, he explored hundreds of vortices in the Sedona area to understand Earth's energy lines and power spots and how they affect the human energy system. Over the years, he has developed inner sight and knowing into the unseen realms. He utilizes these abilities together with his knowledge to continue his studies of the interaction between the subtle energies of ourselves and those of the world around us. He calls the study Metaphysical Ecology. He includes the results of his lifetime of studies in his books, lectures, articles, workshops, and online courses. And you will hear some of this today. In the talk he wanted us to watch today, he will outline the key elements needed to create a new earth. Let's begin the wonderful offering he has created today. It's pre-recorded, so I'm going to share screen. And we'll go to his recording.
I must say that I'm very happy to be a contributor to the theme of the World Unity Week, the theme New Earth Rising, and especially be invited by Antonia and Janice to be part of this convergence room. And the excitement for me is because New Earth, thinking about models, thinking about aspects of a new Earth, has been with me from the beginning of my, I would say, scientific journey that later turned into a more metaphysical journey. When I was working as a research scientist in Kenya, one of the things that for me was so apparent is that we tend to think about issues. It's changing, but it was at that time definitely solely from a human perspective. So humans need this, so we need to do that. Never was the question, but how is that for the earth? How is that for the ecosystem? So I've seen that solutions where many countries were contributing to, and the Food and Agriculture Organization was part of that, in what they call a 40 years eradication program of tsetse flies to make sure that people had more proteins in Africa. And yes, that project stopped because it was a failure. Yes, tsetse flies can be a nuisance, but they were also protecting the ecology. Cattle didn't belong there, and we will never get cattle out of the world. I'm aware of that, but at the same time, it created a tremendous amount of problems with respect to destruction of ecology. And that was for me the beginning of realizing, wow, the way we think about the earth comes from placing humans in the center. So that was the beginning. And later, when I added other aspects like metaphysical aspects, I began to see that we are so limited in looking at what the earth is really all about, that it is not easy to find real solutions or information that will lead to the new earth. So over the years, I gathered a lot of information, did my research now in more metaphysical aspects, because I believe that we need to include the subtle energies in order to understand the earth. So what I'd like to present today in my presentation is an overview of different aspects that I feel that we need at least to ponder upon. Aspects that I feel are essential for getting a new vision that will lead to a new earth. My invitation to all people that are listening is not to listen from your mind, because our mind is already full with ideas, but to listen from your heart. Because when you listen from your heart, you can feel where you resonate with, what feels like a truth to you. And by taking out of the different presentations those elements that are resonating with you, you can build your own vision of the new earth, so to speak. Because you will feel and see and sense and discover that they will contain the same elements, but all slightly different formulated. And that's how we can ultimately come to a real idea about what we need to change in order to create a new earth. I will show you quite some images, because I believe that looking at my face will not help you all that much, but an image can help to understand what I'm talking about a little bit better. And you get far more information in those images than you need. So that's why it's so important to follow the outline of what I share with you. And also, as I said, listening from your heart, because then you're not distracted by, oh, he is not including that, and he's not including that. I will not include all aspects of everything that I show you. The key is to give you the most important elements of areas that you need to ponder upon in order to co-create a new earth. So it's like a journey, and I hope you will enjoy the journey. And after the journey, I would like to do with you a guided meditation, because we can pump our heads full, and even though you listen with your heart, it still needs to be processed in your head, pump full with new information. When we are together through a meditation, connect with some of these aspects, it will be deeper integrated in your system, and you will benefit far more from it and get a better and deeper connection with it. So let's start with the first image. And in this first image, I give actually an overview of the key points that I believe we need to at least consider in order to change our way of thinking about the earth. And by considering these points, we may be able to create something entirely new. So the very first thing is, I mentioned that already, is that humans are not central, but the earth needs to be central. That is where we need to look at, because the earth provides everything for all living beings, which includes us. So by understanding the earth and how the system works in a better way, we will also be able to understand what we need to change to support the earth so that it can truly support us. And with us, I mean all living beings, including the human species. And when we are studying the earth, is the second point, is we begin to understand that the earth itself is crystalline in nature. And when we expand and understand that all those planets and suns are actually all also crystalline, we can make the statement that the universe is crystalline in nature. The earth is crystalline in nature, and as a consequence, everyone that lives on the earth is crystalline in nature. The next point is that the Earth is a integrated part of the universe. So you cannot see it as something separate. If you see the Earth as separate, like this round sphere somewhere floating in space, we miss the point that in the same way as everything within the Earth is interacting, also everything outside the Earth is interacting. The next point that is woven through this presentation is the fact that all creation is essential. It's essential for the evolution of the Earth system. And we are in a natural flow of evolution. And we are now in a phase that evolution needs to become conscious. And because we have been invited, and I will share quite a bit about that in this lecture. And then the point that I mentioned already, to understand the world in which we live, we need to include the subtle energies. And with that, the subtle world, subtle beings. And they are more abundant than people realize. Actually, I personally believe there are more subtle beings living on Earth than there are actually physical beings. And all of that is interrelating with each other. And the last one is realize that all potential is already there. It's not that, oh, it's not yet there, it needs to come to us. No, it's there. It's consciousness that decides which aspect of all that potential will be realized, will become manifested. So those points will not in a chronological order as I present them here, but they are, you can say, flowing through the presentation that I will do. So let's start looking at a few elements. So, and you may understand, we need to start with the Earth, saying that the Earth is central, and we talk about the new Earth. So yes, this is our focus. The focus is on this beautiful planet that provides everything for every living being on it. Crystalline being, part of the crystalline universe. And that beautiful being is part of the solar system. This is the image that shows how we think about our solar system. You know, as soon as you go into the metaphysical aspects of it, then this whole image is changing, because then it turns out that there are not 9, well, if we include Pluto, and it's 9, but actually 12 planets, because there are also planets that are invisible. And some people believe in it and some people doesn't, and that's all okay. And this whole system, the solar system, is part of the Milky Way. Well, and as we know, the Milky Way, you can see that actually is not covering the whole universe. No, it's one of the many, many, many galaxies in the universe. Can you imagine, looking at what you see here, that there are so many planets there? Even though we have not seen them, we begin to see them increasingly, and all of them are crystalline in nature. So the crystalline vibrations are very, very, very important throughout the universe. And if you go back to the Earth, then you see these rocks and you see stones, and you think, wow, yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is all basically crystalline material. And yeah, all those plants and trees are growing out of rocks, out of, let's say, rocks that have been pulverized, sand, clay. It's all the same material in different sizes that provides that what is needed for all the plants and the trees that we need in order to live. We may not directly take the crystalline materials out of the earth like trees and plants are doing, but we do that through the plants. Yeah. And since we are built up in a very unique way, and we will look at that, then you understand that we are built up out of living parts that all have a resonance with crystalline energies. So, crystalline energies. We when we talk about that, yes, we can believe that there are rocks, we can believe that there are crystals, there are these big stones that the megalith builders were using for their constructs. And of course, nowadays we see crystals in all kinds of shapes, like crystal skulls or dragon skulls or whatever form. We see them in the form of unicorns, of dolphins, of whales. I've seen almost everything. A little raven we have on the table here. So all of that is giving form to something that comes from Mother Earth and is crystalline in nature. So we are surrounded by it. We are walking through it. We are sitting on it. We are meditating with it. So yes, crystal energies are very, very important. So all those plants that you see here are taking crystalline material out of the soil. And that is also true for the bacteria. If you realize that we have more bacteria in our system than we have DNA of our own cells, bacterial DNA is dominant in our system. So we are actually a walking ecosystem. And there are viruses, bacteria, fungi in our system that helps this system that we call the human being to function. Yes, some of them are disrupting it also, but the key is that it only disrupts when the system is not able to deal with those disruptions or is not completely in balance. Realizing through this image that we have so many bacteria in our system, which we call the microbiome, that is more information from them than from us, yeah, that's an interesting point of view, right? It helps us to understand already how everything is interrelated, and it has to do with evolution, as we will look at later. So all living beings on Earth are crystalline, and they resonate with the Earth. Yeah, and that is a very important statement. So you may understand that when we disrupt the energies of the Earth, in that moment, we disrupt that where we need to resonate with in order to be healthy. Well, maybe that's the reason why so many are popping pills and run to doctors. Because we are resonating, I should say we are not even resonating with the earth. And when we resonate with the earth who is not in balance. My presentation is not about saying what's wrong with the earth. My presentation is about looking at the earth in a different way so that we can create a balance, a new balance leading to a new earth. Okay. We are all, I think, anybody who opens their eyes and read and listen know that we have created an earth that's out of balance. The ecosystems are rambling in all different ways. We have polluted and so on and so forth. So the key is just how can we change it and not, well, we should have, no. What are we doing now? And the first step is realizing that we are depending on the earth. This statement that you see here on this image from Nikola Tesla, which is considered to be one of the major scientists of the last century. That statement has really stimulated me in doing what I do. And I'm reading it to you because it's so important. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, which means subtle energy, subtle beings, subtle worlds, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. If you let this sink in, then you begin to realize that not only Nikola Tesla, but many top scientists, and not everyone has been so outspoken as Nikola Tesla is, that it's already a realization that there is more than just only the physical measurable, that's what we see with our senses, but that there is way, way, way more beyond that. And that we have to overcome the limitations that are imposed on every idea when we stick only to the physical reality. And that's a challenge because we don't have systems to measure. And since we don't trust I feel, if we only trust is I think or I've measured. But we have to learn to trust what we feel, share about that. And when we see similarities in what we feel, we build something up, an understanding. We can also discuss what we see, whether that's correct, and I can guarantee you that when you let people see something like a little bit complex object and then ask people, what did you see? You get slightly different descriptions. Well, yes, so even when we feel different things. And because we are not trained, we need to have more training to feel more complete what is out there. But at the same time, while a lot of people say, no, we don't want to go to subtle beings and whatever, we are all agreeing that we have life force. Because if there's no life force, we are dead. But we cannot measure life force because it's subtle energy. And we accept that. And there's much more that we can accept. And we see an increasing acceptance that around the human being, there are different energy layers, as you see in this image, and often summarized under the term aura, and that we have centers that we call chakras. Centers that, from my perspective, are far larger than in our system because we find similar resonating systems on the Earth, in planets, in star systems. It's a universal resonance system that we also resonate with, and that can help us understand how we can become in harmony with the universe through the Earth, always through the Earth. Yeah. So because they are actually reflecting how we interact, the chakras, you may understand that also the interaction between the different energy layers are also creating chakras. And that brings the 7 of the physical plus those 5 that interact between the different energy bodies and the world outside, creates a 12 chakra system. Energy layers, when we look at the human system you just saw, then we talk about the energy bodies. But for those who are very sensitive, they know that within each of those there are, you can say, areas that are having a denser vibration and less dense vibration. And I call them layers of frequencies that literally are, you can say, I can't say measurable, I could say detectable. Yeah? And that is true for a stone or a crystal. I made this image because of a crystal skull, but I could have put any crystal in the center. And when you pay attention to a crystal, what you see is that it expands its energy field. And the way it expands is dense energy and not dense energy. And the dense energy are like rings around it, So that's what you see. So I call those rings layers, and that means that what you see here are 12 layers. And this is a very important aspect because those 12 layers form a group. Most stones and crystals have one group. But there are crystals that have more, and I will show you an overview in a little bit. And those layers affect actually the way the system, the Earth system, works. And what you see is an overview of the different fields and grids. Grids are lines on the Earth of energies. And I'm not going through every detail that we could do a whole lecture, a whole workshop of days on this subject. Yeah. But the key point is that there are crystalline energies in grids that are actually in 3 major groups, and connected with each group are other grid systems. So you see that based on the crystalline energy of Mother Earth, other systems are built. And that includes, for example, the human consciousness. And all of that whole system is determined by what is called the morphogenetic field of the Earth. And morphogenetic means to generate the form. It is the information system that creates form. And we need that information in order to create out of that potential in that field, that's what then becomes an expression. That is, you can say, evolution in motion, working with those grids. And I wrote a whole book about those different grids systems for those who say, oh, well, that's interesting, and you may like to read more about that. It's called Gifts of Mother Earth. So how does it then work? I talk about fields and grids. Well, a field is like a layer, like the layers around a crystal, like the layers around our system, but there are also layers around the Earth that holds the potential. So the top is the energy field or the information layer, which is the potential of something. When consciousness, whatever consciousness it is, works with that information of the energy field, then it is brought into the Earth system, and that creates the grids. Lines that form patterns. And the vortex is the connection between those two. So if you would be able to find the center of a vortex, and you're going to sit there and meditate, you cannot only feel, for example, a human consciousness. You cannot not only feel the human consciousness that's in the grids, that's what has been realized, so that you can expand yours, but you even can, if you're ready for that, tap into the potential and bring literally more information into the grids. That's the principle of evolution. Potential is there. And as we will see, if a potential is not stable, that's also expanding. But the whole process is bringing more information of the potential into a manifestation that stimulates the continuous evolution, continuous change. And we can see that over millions of years quite easily, but realize it's happening in every second, every minute, something is shifting. Not maybe detectable for us, unless you're very, very, very sensitive, but it's happening. And that result, and ultimately, I mentioned already in 12 levels of the crystalline grids. Now, the interesting thing is that 9 of these levels are resonating with the world that we live in. But the Earth has more worlds, meaning there are other systems of different vibrations that we are not directly aware of, that has their own vibration, their own life. Yes, I know, not that easy to believe, but I will explain where that's based on. And then you see level 10, 11, and 12 have to do with other worlds. So the most complex is our world, and there is a reason for that, because we are at the lowest vibration, but at the same time it forms the foundation from where evolution needs to take place. So we live in the most challenging world, but also in the most important world. And here you see that presented in a different way. So we have Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is directly affected by the morphogenetic system of the solar system. So you can say, in a sense, that the sun determines, what reaches Mother Earth coming from the universe. And Mother Earth receives that and creates her morphogenetic system, the system that then determines what's possible within her own world, leading to 12 different fields. And I put here the star nations because there is a lot of input, and that goes through what we call portals, that is coming into the Earth. And those systems of information that comes into the Earth affects the morphogenetic system. So you can say that depending on the openness of Mother Earth, C brings in more energy that will stimulate even further evolution. Now, those 12 fields can be separated in three major groups. One is the 6 fields that support physical expressions. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, spore plants, flowers, evergreens, deciduous trees, all of them are basically needed in order to make the animal expressions possible. And those animal expressions are basically supporting the expressions on the etheric astral level. And the etheric astral level belongs to the physical system and have to do with emotions and beliefs, thinking. Well, thinking is an interesting word because thinking is what we think our way of thinking is, but there are other forms as well. So you can say that even plants and animals have a mind, and definitely that those minds have been expanded in the animal kingdom. Okay. And then we have the 3 fields that support the spiritual expressions on Earth, and that are the vertebrates. Believe it or not, they are needed for us as humans to be able to be who we are, but there are other beings that we call invisible, and I mentioned them in this overview, so here you have it. Ancient ones, which are like the devas. Dragons and unicorns, yes, they exist. I will come back very briefly later on that one. So this is then an overview in a linear way. These are the levels. If you remember this, then you remember something very key for the foundation of thinking about creating a new Earth. First, there needed to be the level 1, bacteria and viruses. Without that, there could not be fungi. Without fungi, there could not be plants. Spore plants, flowering plants, and you don't even have to talk about the trees. So all that what you see here, bacteria, viruses, fungi, are needed to develop the different plant aspects. And they were needed in order to create the environment for animals to exist. So every step is a condition for the next step. And once the next step is, all the previous ones are also unfolding. They are still evolving. Bacteria are not stagnant. No, they are continuously evolving as well. So we see literally like a wave going through the morphogenetic systems, and through that a continuous evolution of all aspects of what exists. And we are currently developing the level 11, co-creators, mostly us. Although some dragons are part of that, unicorns are part of that, and the humpback whale is part of that as far as I understand. So, but most of it is us, human beings, co-creators. So we are definitely evolving. We are now learning to connect, whether we know that consciously, do that consciously or not, to connect with the consciousness that belongs to the co-creator, so that we can use that to begin to fulfill that role. So far, we have not been able to do a good job because we are in the initial phase of that. So part of understanding us is understanding that we are co-creators. And this level 12, level 12 is not yet there, although some people are already tapping into that, and that is the enlightened human being. But you can also say it's the enlightened co-creator. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of this continuous evolution. And we are now, this first part was evolution based on the morphogenetic systems, but now consciousness is coming in as a more active form. And that's why I like the title of this convergence room, Conscious Evolution, And you may say, it's all beautiful, all your stories, but where do you base it on? Well, each of those grids that belong to the 12 morphogenetic systems have vortexes, and anybody who either is sensitive or can dowse can find them. And what you see here, there's this little bottle there with some crystal skulls, is a level 11. That's our co-creator. So that's why I put this up. This is the energy that you can connect with, that is helping us to become a conscious creator so that we can contribute to conscious evolution. Yeah. And those different grids are always existing in three forms: child, masculine, and feminine, the sacred trinity. And I will say a few more things about that. But let's first look at this one. So here you see one as a level 12. This is where we will move to. This is the enlightened human being. And this is the vortex, meaning there is already a grid, and there is, of course, the field. The fact that there is already the grid is indicating that enough people have connected with it, and this will expand, stimulating us to become increasingly enlightened. So the overview, now going to human consciousness. And what you see in this overview is that there are 12, you see again, 12 levels, 12 fields of morphogenetic system, 12 crystalline grid levels. I can go on and on and on with that. Yeah. So this image is showing a whole story. And in this one, you see also the words first world, second world, third world, and the fourth world. I will tell a short story, and then I will illustrate it with a couple of images. The story goes as follows, and this is based on the energies that I feel when I'm sitting on those points and share that with other people that feel similar things. So when the 10 morphogenetic fields were sufficiently developed, the Earth was ready for the development of the 11th. And for that, it needed the co-creator, which means a being that was able to literally be a co-creator in all aspects of her beingness. So she realized that you need specific souls in order to do that. Souls that were willing to incarnate in the different forms that were already developing due to evolutionary systems, or through which they could help Mother Earth to create this new world that we are talking about. So the souls that answered the call of Mother Earth are called, I call them the founders. And I call them the founders because they founded actually the system of consciousness. They created 12 different subfields that and laid the foundation for the grids in order to have a map for those souls that came to Earth to become co-creators. But there's a big but in that one. It's not only the highest frequency of the Earth where they needed to be co-created, no, the whole system, which include the physical body. So in the same way as we have a physical body, an etheric body, an astral body, an emotional, a mental, and a spiritual body, so does the Earth. We are reflecting systems of Mother Earth. So Mother Earth has those systems. So the first souls were still in this high frequency. So what they did is they incarnated in that aspect of Mother Earth that we call her spiritual body. And that developed the first world. The first world is the experience of the first, you can say, human souls, highest level of consciousness, level 12, that experience the Earth. And the whole journey was meant to do something unnatural, going down in frequency. Systems want to evolve, don't want to go down. But the souls were brave. They knew what they needed to do. So at a certain moment, they shifted from the first world into the second world. It's the world that is dominated by the elemental power of water. The first world is fire. And that is the mental body of Mother Earth. And that is the longest period. Most levels took hundreds of millions of years before finally there was a shift into
the next world, the third world, and that is dominated by the elemental power of air and is actually the emotional body of Mother Earth. And after that, we plunged into the darkness of the physical. That's how a lot of people are experiencing it. They want to go to the light. So this is not light, apparently. Yes, this is also light, but it is a low vibration. And this low vibration is the fourth world, dominated by the elemental power of Earth as the physical system of Mother Earth. And that's where we live in. And that's why we see everything from a physical perspective. But all that other is also there. There are beings living in all those worlds. And we are all needed to support Mother Earth's evolution. I know this may be for some of you a little bit difficult to grasp, but feel into it. That's why I invite you to listen from your heart. Yeah. So, the idea of four worlds is not something that I come up with. The Hopi believe in it, the Mayans, Aztecs, you can find it in the Kabbalah. The Greeks and the Romans believed in it, ancient Hindus, ancient Europeans. No, the idea of four worlds is a pretty common phenomenon that we forgot about. And you can see it this way. The four worlds form the basis, the foundation, and what we need to is the fifth world, which is the new world, is dominated by the elemental power of ether. That is the journey. We move to the top of the pyramid. So, in order to start this whole process, you can say that consciousness field of the humans that needed to develop that 11th morphogenetic field needed to be induced. This is the induction point, done by the founders. I don't know how long ago, because there's a period in the first world that time didn't exist as we understand it. And this is in the Sedona area. And that is why Sedona, and that's my belief, is considered sacred through eons of times, up until today. This is where human consciousness starts. And I think subconsciously we all know that. And that's why people get excited to come to Sedona and say, oh, I want to live here. Maybe that's not the right reaction, but it is an understandable reaction. Yeah? And what I mentioned is the sacred trinity is very, very, very important. And the most common terms are child, feminine, and masculine. So the red is the induction point. And the founders believed that to explore the earth, you needed to do that from those three perspectives, and then to integrate it into a deeper understanding. Yeah? And that are the three locations. And this gives you a little bit of an overview of that sacred trinity. Many terms, as I mentioned, child, feminine, masculine. But also you can see the masculine as consciousness, or as fire, or as the father. As much as feminine can be creation, wisdom, water, Holy Spirit, and Shekinah. Do you notice that religion doesn't want to say the sacred feminine? Yeah. And then we have the child aspect as love, life force, the breath of the Creator, air, and the sun. Yeah, and there we see again this dominance of masculine aspects. I should say son and daughter, but in the traditions, I kept to the traditions and not trying to judge it. So this sacred trinity is important, and what happens is they induced those points also, so that the three paths could be walked as optimal as possible, so that also ultimately the integration could be as optimal as possible. So this is the place where the induction of the feminine is. And you can always later, because I understand that the recording will be available for quite a while, stop it and really feel deeper into it. But within the time that I have available, we can't spend too much time on each of the images. And this is the child point. And you see again the bottle here. This is the center. And this is the masculine point. Well, you see immediately in the previous one, there was just more or less pristine nature. And here we see a construction. This is done by the Pueblo people. And this masculine place has been used through eons of time. And it has something to do with, it's also action. Masculine has to do with action. And we live in a solar system that is connected to, I call it the third, but it's the masculine one, the solar plexus, the action one. And the same is true for our Milky Way and actually our whole universe. Yeah. So that is why we have this tendency to let the masculine energy to dominate, forgetting that everything is depending on the wisdom of the feminine. Yeah. And that the feminine is the creation, and the masculine energy can jump up and down. Without the feminine, nothing is happening. So to go back to this one, we are living in this fourth world, and it has 3 levels of consciousness. And I like to define them as follows. Level 1 is the I consciousness. This is the level in which we have to have a healthy ego, and it can only happen when we are able to let go of fears and worries. Something very difficult for humanity in this state of its evolution. So even though we can then move to higher states of consciousness, most people plunge back into that, trying to wrestle with a healthy I consciousness and failing. If there is not a healthy I, there will be not a healthy we. And we see that very clearly. You know, the we consciousness that we see each other all as equal, well, I think we can easily see that that's not happening in our society. And that we consciousness is also a form of collaboration based on equality. We have a lot to learn before there is a healthy we. And it is because there's not sufficient healthy I. And we don't even have to talk about the next step. I call it the all consciousness, because then we see all life, visible and invisible, as equally important within the Earth system and ultimately within the whole universe. The interesting thing is that although there's all this other level of consciousness that you've seen, 12 levels, once you are living from this consciousness, you have access to all of that. I know that sounds difficult to believe, but the all consciousness is a oneness consciousness, and the rest is only an expansion of it. So we need to work within this fourth world on dealing with our egos, our fears, our worries, so that we can collaborate in such a way that we can go to deeper understanding of the whole. And all those consciousness grids have this particular characteristics. They have sublines within the lines, and they always have a trinity. And that trinity is actually the sacred trinity, built in every consciousness line to help us to understand that we need to find a balance between our feminine, masculine, and child aspects. And we have that independent of gender. That is our journey. So this is a little summary, and then you see that there are different grid systems. The first group of 12 layers refers to crystalline energies. So you see that crystalline energies directly have an effect on our consciousness and are related to chakras. I'm not going into the details. Just realize that they are all interacting with each other. And you can use this first group of 12 layers to create this healthy I. And that's why every stone in this world has 12 layers once they are fully activated and can support us doing that. Now you understand why I'm so excited about the crystalline universe, because it provides us with everything that we need. And as soon as you expand the frequencies, you can go to a healthy we, and we can ultimately go to the frequencies that support that all feeling. So the only thing that is important for this whole thing to realize is that the chakras and the crystalline energies and the different grids of consciousness are all working together to get us in that state that we can become this conscious co-creator. That is the beauty of this system. It is an unbelievable, beautiful system. So I go back for a moment to these layers. So this is one group, and I mentioned already, you can expand that into different other groups of 12, ultimately to 6, and it can even expand beyond that. Now, as you understand, it has a direct relationship, with our whole system that I have already shown to you. And what is important to understand is that those 6 energy bodies, as you see them mentioned here, have a direct relationship to different frequencies, the 6 group of 12 layers of crystalline energies. I'm not going through all the different materials, but there is one thing that is important to realize. All quartzes have the frequencies that can stimulate the energies of all our energy bodies. But I say that with a but. When you really want to work on your physical system, sometimes you simply need a stone from your own yard that can have just those energies and that then work for you to bring that aspect of your physical body into balance. So I don't think I always have to work with quartzes because they do everything. But yes, quartzes can do that. And that's the gift of Mother Earth. The quartz energies can make sure that you as a human system can be in the most optimal state. And now to work with it. That is the key, of course, right? Otherwise, we will never reach that point. And that's why I like quartz, and this is my favorite. No, I'm not allowed to say favorite because I'm supposed to like them all, but this is the one that I've worked most with, Sam. So now you understand a little bit better, what I've talked about. The 4 energy bodies, the different groups, the different layers, all creates the 4th world, and we can expand that, if we choose to do so, into the other 3 worlds, which is then the complete Earth system as it currently exists. But you cannot do that without being in a balance within our world. Maybe we can pick little bits and pieces of those worlds, but not really, the fullness of it. But it is more complicated. So you go now to the 4 elemental powers leading to the Earth overseer, the Earth element overseer. And then when we go within that to the element of Earth, our world, then we see that there are far more species. Now, I don't want to make it too complicated, because we can talk about this, of course, give a whole lecture only on the devas and their role and their function. Because there are many different species, within the Earth one, or maybe I should say subspecies. I don't care what term to really use, but ultimately there are 36 groups. So the 12, fire, water, air, and earth, each have again a trinity, fire, water, air, and that each of those trinities has also a trinity. And that's what you see in the blocks here. So how do you define them? You need to look at fire, F, another fire, and then that has a fire. So there are 3 letters that determine a group of devas, and there are 36 of that. So you have fire, 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 water, fire, fire, air. And then you go, you have fire, water, fire, and so on. And that makes 36 groups. Of course, each of those groups have their own grid system. So you have this overseeing grids, and a grid above that, and then a morphogenetic system above that, and so on and so forth. But what we're actually, when we are looking at a object, life or made, that is independently functioning as a physical unit, as its own functioning, it will have a deva, and that deva belongs to one of the 36 groups. So that makes that this is far more complicated. Another yucca species, this is the soap tree yucca, Yucca elata. Then you see it's the same type of deva, water, water, air. So related species of plants and animals have similar devas, or say deva from the same group. That was not the case. Earth, earth, fire. So my next thought was, you see how minds can trick us into existing, and that if you carve out of a quartz crystal a skull, which is nowadays quite popular, that must then have also earth, earth, and fire. So we have a personal deva. We are, besides a spiritual unit, and as guardian we have an angel, we have also a physical unit, this physical body with an etheric and astral body connected with it, that has a deva. And this deva, and I still need to ponder a lot on this one, is water, air, earth. And I have made a meditation which is available as a video on the YouTube channel of Metaphysical Ecology. And I will recommend you to do that meditation. It's a meditation, short introduction and then a meditation, and it will really help you to connect with that beautiful being that is there to help you to take care of your physical system. And you can ask it to help you when you are not okay, but it will never invade your free will, so be clear about your messages. Don't give half messages. But I recommend to do this meditation with, let's say, some regularity, just to help you.
I know it was quite a journey to go through all this information. I hope you understand that it's not about grasping every detail. It's about getting the impression that there is so much more, that we have so much more potential, that the potential of the earth is unbelievable, and that we are living in a universe where that potential can be expanded, because everything is interacting and the standard idea is always evolving. And some people feel frustrated that they live in this world and say, I don't belong here. It's an understandable idea, and I hope you understand now that we have all made this choice to come to this earth to support its evolution, but yes, to be, you can say, jumping into the low vibration of the physical world for our souls is like, oh my goodness, what did I do? You know, what happened to me when I signed up for this contract? As my friend would joke, you know, I forgot to read the small letters, and I'm sure you have heard that joke before. Through meditation, you may be able to connect with some of what has been shared. And that's why I like to do meditations, because it changes from a stream. And I've heard so many times that I have the tendency to put all this information to people, but to bring that stream of information into a more integrated way into our system. So let's do a meditation to help you to do so. And it's always good to close your eyes so that we stop our sensory input for a moment, other than that of the sound, and begin with what I call the process of relaxation. It's such an important process in general for us, but it's definitely very important if we want to use our brain in a more expanded way. And we talked about, you know, the reception, perception. You know, if you want to go to expansion of your perception of what you already receive, let alone expansion of what you receive, you need to go to those meditative states, as it's called. And you cannot go there unless you relax. The most important thing is to set the intention. I choose to relax as deeply as I can in this moment. And while you allow that intention to unfold into a deeper relaxation, you also take a few deeper inhalations and exhalations, because that stimulates your vagus nerve and will support that process of relaxation. And it is important to always feel what happens whatever you do. What is the effect of your intention and the breathing and the relaxation? And the more you get relaxed, the more from the perspective of your mind, it will feel that everything is okay, everything is safe. Because the mind wants to keep you safe. And as soon as it feels that you are relaxed, it says, oh, this person is safe. I can relax. And that allows the heart to begin to guide you. While the mind is controlling you, the heart is guiding you. In one of the last images, you saw the heart being in the center, determining how the minds are functioning, which determines how spiritual and physical are bridged. And the heart will immediately connect you deeper with your spiritual essence, bring in more light in your system, but also brings in more what I call unconditional love. And we are too conditional in our love. So bring your awareness to your heart and let your heart guide you into this deeper connection with your spiritual essence. connecting physical and spiritual. This will allow you to function in this world more optimally as a co-creator, allowing you to contribute more optimally to the evolution of Mother Earth, the unfoldment of a new Earth. And be aware that when you are in this state of deeper connection with your spiritual essence, all connections that you're making will be much deeper. And the most important first step is always to connect with Mother Earth. So let's set now the intention that we connect with Mother Earth as deeply as we can. And again, observe and feel what's happening. What shifts? And send now your love, your light, and your gratitude to her. Realizing that you are an integrated part of her and that she's always supporting you directly or indirectly. And feel how she responds. And maybe you can feel it, but if you don't feel it, become aware that there is actually no real separation between you and her. Even though you are a completely independent, functional being, you also are an integrated part of Mother Earth. To the best of your ability, feel that. And now feel also that you, as an individual human being, are an integrated part of the whole collective system of humanity. Even there, you can function as an independent unit, but you also will always be connected because we all are connected to the same field from which everything springs. It's actually the we field that we need to develop in such a way that we can again believe in the potential that we have as a collective. And stay in your heart, because you can only believe in the potential of the collective from that place of your heart, because your mind will judge. Your heart never judges. And now expand into all beings that live with us on this beautiful planet. all beings that are visible, but we include also all beings that are invisible. Realizing that we are all children of Mother Earth, all contributing in our own unique way to how this Earth system as a totality is functioning. So feel yourself expanding from this we consciousness into this all consciousness, into this consciousness that embraces all other beings, knowing that we support each other to help Mother Earth to evolve. And now be aware that this beautiful planet is part of the solar system. And that all the other planets, all being crystalline in nature, are depending on the sun that induces continuously new energies, new possibilities to all its planets in its system as a part of the sun's evolution. So feel the sun that we can so easily feel when we walk outside. When the sun is shining, is actually the source of a lot of the information that determines the world we live in, the potential of what this place can be. And feel gratitude for the sun, providing all that is needed to allow this planet to evolve its full potential, the new Earth. And while we know we can expand beyond that, for now, let's feel these energies in such a way that you feel confident with your place in the whole and your contribution to the new Earth. So let's sit for a couple of minutes in this energy to allow things to unfold, trusting that it will guide you exactly to where you need to be. And take again a deep breath. Bring your awareness back to the place you're sitting and open your eyes again. Thank you for your contribution. I realize that the fact that you are here in this moment means that that you have chosen to be here to contribute to the development of this new earth. And as here, I don't mean only during this particular event or this lecture. No, here on earth, you, in this moment, incarnated. Everyone is needed. If you were not needed, you would not be here. But how we contribute is, of course, important. And we need to support each other. And learning from each other to look at this world in a more expanded way, in such a way that we can also function more optimally. I hope that I have contributed in such a way that there are a few things that you are willing to ponder upon. I do that all the time. And I believe that without doing that, I can't grow. I wish you in your life a beautiful journey in finding your uniqueness so that you can optimally contribute to this beautiful earth, creating a new earth. Thank you.